happy with the quality of the work that I've received as well. So far, I've marked just over half of the assignments. I'll give you proper feedback as soon as I'm done, and the plan is that I'll finish marking the assignments today. I've got about 25 supplementary exams that finish now at 3. I'll be marking those as well. So I'm pretty sure that by Wednesday would have been, I can give you general feedback because obviously it has to go off to the moderator. But so far I'm quite happy there. I can't really say that those that I've marked, I think it's about 8 or 9 of the assignments out of the 15. I can't say that it comes to mind that any of you, and I'm specifically talking to, hi Jessica, Stephanie, I am specifically talking to the students who are in class today. Let me just see, I haven't marked everybody's that's in class today, but those whose assignment I did mark, and those who are not in class but whose assignment I've also marked. I couldn't see that up to this point that there was a misinterpretation of any of the questions. Maybe some of the questions or some of the answers lacked a bit of detail, but again, we'll address that in the feedback session. I would love to. It's out of my hands. I'm not sure how fast the moderator is going to work for me to release the results of your assignment before you write your formal test on Monday. But at least by Thursday, our last session before your test, I'll be able to give you feedback. I will definitely have been finished marking, so I'll give you general feedback on the mistakes that you've made. We can go through the questions specifically and the answers that are received without obviously individually you looking at it. And then when you get your results back, you can actually look at the comments that I've made for each of you individually. That will also be the time to get results. So it's all in the process. It's going according to plan. I've ticked all the boxes that where I wanted to be with the grading of assignments and supplementary papers. But the marks are really for those students that half a class that I've marked already, or just over half the class I've marked already. The results are quite good. Thanks for that. Now, any questions at this point before I go into the term test that will be written next Monday? Any specific questions?
Sir?
Yes.
Are you going to go through now a little bit of revision for each chapter and just kind of like saying what's most important?
I'm going to go through the chapters this week, yes, session by session, but I'm not going to give you a scope. But obviously, the aspects in a particular chapter that is more important because it relates to the learning outcomes of the module are the ones that I'll focus on to ensure that those concepts are well understood. But yes, I'm going to go through the chapters one by one. If there are any questions, and if there are questions that pop up today we'll do chapter 1 and 2, and then we've got a double period on Wednesday and a double on Thursday, when we will cover the rest of the chapters in those 2 sessions. It's more than enough time. If you want to ask me questions about chapters 1 and 2 during today's session, obviously yes, the platform is there. But if questions arise about chapter 1 and 2, you're more than welcome to ask them on Wednesday and Thursday as well. It's not this is a session for 1 and 2. And this is a closed opportunity. If you've missed the opportunity today, you can't. No, it's a whole week of revision, which I think is where I wanted us to be at this point in the semester. Although we have covered chapters that will not be in your test, and for that purpose, let's go to that front page that gives you the logistics of the test that you'll be writing next Monday. The only, as I said, downside to it is the Monday after a long weekend. That's the glass half empty approach. The glass half full approach is, I've got an extra day because I don't have to attend class on a Friday, and I know your classes on a Friday, you're quite busy on a Friday when it comes to classes, 6 or 7, I think. So an off day can just be to your benefit in this case, although it's not nice to start a Monday after a long weekend with a test. The good news also is that it's available to you throughout the day. You can write any time. Obviously, classes will continue. The normal timetables will continue. That will be week 8 on your module schedule. It will be week 8 for the second semester. So the usual classes that you have on a Monday will continue. I'm not sure if we're going to have a session, but if we will have a session next Monday, this period that I'm talking about now, it's not going to be related to the test, because some students would have written the test and some still have an opportunity to do it because it's available the whole day. So I'm definitely not going to talk about the test on Monday next week. It's not fair to those who still have to do it, or those who have done it. It is available the whole day, but it is timed. You still only have 2 hours to do it. It is open book, and it covers all those types of questions that I've listed there. There will be a few true or false questions. There will be some matching columns and shorter answer questions. There's also I think there's 1 case study. It might be 2. I'm not sure. I can't recall. We can address that during the other sessions in this week. I'll have a look at the paper again. But the intention when we set up the assessment guides that you find in your overview week, basically instructing you or informing you what to expect for this semester in sales and operations. How many class tests you're going to write, how many formal tests, how many assignments, what is covered in each chapter. That's in your assessment guide, which is in Canvas, in the overview week on your module schedule. In line with that, and when that was drafted, that's usually done in line with your learning outcomes to ensure that those learning outcomes that you find on the module that we want to achieve, which is aligned with the curriculum that has been registered with the CHE. There will be more, and you'll find that if there's more application in this particular test than there maybe have been previously, it's because it's open book. And we are getting to the point now where just testing your knowledge doesn't really meet the expected criteria. We want to know that you understand the concepts, and one of the better ways to express your understanding is to apply it in a case study. You'll find that your exam that you'll write, your summative exam that you'll write in November, would be similar. It might have fewer short questions and true and false questions, but and more case studies and more application. But also, again, that will also be open book. It's also time limited to 3 hours, your exam at the end of the year. I have a provisional date for you. It's the 2nd of November. Don't write it in pen yet. Just do it in pencil. The 2nd of November for your summative exam at the end of the year, just to help you with your medium-term planning. Any questions, people, on the format of the test? What to expect? I know there's always questions related to this. Anybody has any particular question that they want to address regarding what to expect from a formal test or the term test next Monday? You're fine with it at the moment? I know you would prefer not to write it next week, but unfortunately that's not an option. Right. let's look at chapter 2. My apologies. Let's look at what we can find in chapter 1. I've broken up the revision pretty much like the textbook have done it as well. The textbook have 4 different parts, if I'm correct. The first part covers chapter 1, 2, and 3. I combined the role of marketing and the marketing concept, chapter 1 and 2, into one. So before I upload this, I have to correct, it's actually chapters 1, 2, and 3 that we are covering with the work that we're doing today. Part 1, basically in the textbook, and that covers everything from where marketing fits in, the different characteristics of modern marketing, different types of selling that we have exposed you to and that you can expect to find out there in the real world. Chapter 2 combined in the slideshows. When I say combined, I'm referring to the slideshows, the PowerPoints that we covered for chapters 1 and 2. It's in the same chapter. It's a combined slide, not chapters that are combined. It's still chapter 1 and 2. We're looking at the marketing mix. We're looking at businesses selling to businesses, business selling to customers, B2C and B2B, basically. What the marketing concept is, and then in chapter 3, we look at the different sales and marketing, specifically the process of sales and marketing planning, the selling of the marketing plan. That's what lies ahead of us today. You're welcome to, if you have textbooks or you've on maybe another device or on an additional monitor, you have the slides open from when we did it earlier in the semester. You're welcome to refer to that. The big question that we start off with, obviously, is still, and why do I always start with this, and why do I always ask this, and why do I always include this in the revision session? Because if you understand the concept of selling and what the main objective is of the selling process, everything else that we do throughout the remaining 15 chapters in this textbook points back towards that. And we do everything that we do in all the chapters: international selling, the specific characteristics that a salesperson should have, how we structure our sales force, later on how we recruit. That we'll be doing after the term test, the chapters that we'll cover then. How do you recruit the right people? Because at the end of the day, and we saw that in the assignment as well, when you were expected to open in Win Worldwide in 2 additional, or suggest 2 additional countries to open or to expand the business to, it was my apologies, it's a hay fever time. One of the important aspects that we have to remember is that you will always be confronted with, in a situation like that, with recruiting the correct staff, the correct salespeople, people, not just people of integrity and all the other characteristics of a good salesperson, but people who are adaptable to the different cultures that they'll be exposed to. Maybe some salespeople have their roots, or part of their roots, related to a destination that you're considering to expand your business to. But for you to be able to do what selling has as the main objective, and that is to make a sale, for you to not just stop the whole process there and say, oh, let's go out and celebrate. I'm going to take a week off because I've made a sale. No, you need to repeat the process, and you also have to ensure that you follow up those people that you have sold to ensure that the service that they expect from you is delivered, because your intention, which is a secondary intention to making the sale, is to retain the customer, to get them to come back to your shop and do repeat purchases. So eventually they can become loyal, and you know that you can always bank on those loyal customers to support you, especially for new products that you're launching, especially when you're expanding your business, especially when you want to test new ideas with currently satisfied customers. Right, there are different selling skills. We will see that in later chapters. We've also addressed the principles and the different principles and techniques of selling in later chapters. So you have the main objective, your main purpose when you're in sales is to make a sale, but to do it in such a manner that the customer is happy, that you can build a relationship with that customer so they can return and eventually become a loyal supporter of your product or your brand. Right. Anybody at any point, more than welcome to just raise your hand or to type in the meeting chat or to just interrupt me and stop me and say, whoa, 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 whoa. It's Monday, right over my head. Let's just look at that again. Okay. At any point, you're more than welcome to stop me. I'm just going to, my apologies. I've got some lemon tea here, that lemon and ginger tea for my sinuses. Let me just indulge in a little sip there. The characteristics of modern day selling. It's not that different to what it always has been, but, and you also can refer this back to what you did in your assignment. You can specifically question 1 in your assignment. Maybe vague in your memory or not. Obviously, it's not in mine because I've been marking the assignments. But in question 1 of your assignment, we asked you to identify which marketing orientation or which marketing philosophy applies to win. Now, again, like I've always said before, in some businesses, it's very obvious what type of orientation they support. In some businesses and industries, it could be more than one. There is not necessarily a model answer there. There are definitely specific answers. They are definitely not correct, but there are definitely a variety of options as to what orientation in your assignment that particular business could support, as long as you could justify it. In other words, if you provided me with an explanation of what the sales orientation, the marketing orientation, the product orientation, the production orientation, what they are, if you can explain those to me, then you basically justified your choice. Obviously, if you aligned it with the particular business in question. And that's the nature of, and the reason why I've used that example is because at this point in your second year, you can be expected, or you can expect to get more questions similar to that in not just an assignment, but also in tests and exams, because it tests your ability to recall, in other words, what are those different orientations, B, explain them to me. That means that you have to provide a bit more and show understanding of the concept, and then apply it to a particular case study, in this case to Win Worldwide, to see how, if you can align the concept with the particular business. Right. The reason why I've, and it's not on the screen, the reason why I've started off with the different business marketing orientations or business philosophies is one of them traditionally we've seen through this course, we've seen traditionally, and we'll deal with that, I think, chapter 6 or 7, probably chapter 9 and 10. You won't be doing chapter 10. You'll only be doing up to chapter 9, which is key account management. But key account management, to a certain extent, also relates a great deal to relationship marketing. And relationship marketing is the way in which a particular business have chosen to conduct their marketing and sales activities. In other words, they are putting, as we see on the screen there, the customer right in the center. It's not about producing like the production orientation. Whatever we can within our capacity, we want to produce the maximum that we can within our capacity, with the resources that we have, and there's faith that salespeople will be able to sell it. The examples that often come up, companies like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi. I saw this morning again in the newspaper, it was the latest cool drink brands have been, or cold beverages as they call it, non-alcoholic cold beverages. I think currently Coca-Cola is way ahead. They on 33 billion, I think, US dollars, as opposed to about 16.8 for Pepsi, which is not a close second, but compared to where the rest are, those two are killing the market basically. They are production-orientated businesses. They will just, it's max capacity within, obviously the production rate decreased during the pandemic because not all the staff were back at work, and in some cases the factories were closed for a certain period of time. But those are usually the times when global events like COVID-19 happens. The production-orientated businesses initially can survive because they have kept on producing at max capacity, and there will always be products in store. It depends, obviously, if you're a mass production business who underwrites the production orientation, you would, but your business is, and the products that you're manufacturing, is of a perishable nature, then you might find that eventually you'll have to dispose of some of those products because they've reached the expiry date. But the expiry date on the products that the companies that I've mentioned, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and those, they are quite long, so they're not initially in trouble. But because nothing new is produced, but people are still consuming, although they're consuming at a slower rate, eventually they run out of stock. And in some cases, businesses got to that tipping point where they were not back in production, but they actually have run out of stock. And then you're starting to make a loss. The customer-orientated philosophy or orientation that has been adopted with great success over the last 3 and specifically the last 2 decades is where we put the customer on a pedestal right in the center and we say, right, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, what will make you happy? What do you need? What problems are you experiencing? Because if we can solve that problem by giving you a product that will make that problem go away, we know that you're going to buy that product from us. So the focus was not just on the sale. If you look at the block right at the top, it was also on customer retention. And then obviously, if especially when businesses are doing business with each other, B2B, Sometimes you have to just get rid of some of the customers. Some customers and some customers just eventually start supporting somebody else, or some customers going through different cycles of their lives are just not alive anymore. Okay, so you are going to lose customers, but the intention obviously is to keep, for as long as they're still alive, to retain them and to keep them happy and satisfied. For you to be able to do that, you need to be able to manage your database. And this is where I think in the last chapter that we started on Thursday, we're looking at sales and sales management and technology. And this is where, and we've also done that when we did key account management and relationship selling, where for us to be able to provide that service to the customer all the time, we need to, fortunately, as a result of technology, work through a lot of data, and that is usually done nowadays by modern technology. There's automated systems in place, but you are going to work through a lot of data, regardless if a computer does it for you. You still have to instruct the devices with the correct criteria of what you expect. The information is there, but they will only give it to you. They will only give you what you ask. Okay, so it's important that you understand your customer and the customer's needs. Therefore, you need to have knowledge not just on the product that you are selling. You need to have knowledge on what the competitors are offering, and you need to have knowledge on what the needs of the customers are. What's trendy at the moment? Okay, because that's what you want to constantly innovate your business by staying in touch with what the customer wants, especially if you're going to apply a customer-orientated approach. Customer relationship management, very important. We do that specifically in chapter 9 and 10. So partially for this test, when we do revision next week or later this week on chapter 9, key account management deals 100% with customer relationship management, because that's what we do. We give that extra VIP service to our key customers, our key accounts. Right. Marketing the product, obviously, goes without saying. It's important that you, and later on in what we've done already in later chapters, is that we, and especially, I think in last Wednesday, we dealt with the marketing communication, the different methods of communicating and choosing the correct mediums to reach our specific target audience. It has been identified previously, but if you can solve a problem of a customer, the customer is going to buy your product, and then you've got your foot in the door. Then how you deliver that product, and how the experience is that the customer have with this whole activity, and that obviously is extended beyond the sale when you're offering the after-sale service, is going to determine if the customer is coming back or not. If you have identified in the second block in the top right corner, data and knowledge management, if you've identified the needs of the customer correctly, and you have done everything correctly and you made the sale, then that block top on the left, adding value and satisfying needs, is going to be achieved. If you have not correctly identified the needs of the customer, you will have a customer who bought a product they probably didn't need, probably couldn't afford, and then you're in trouble. So correct identification of the need would lead to satisfying that need. If you did it in a great manner, the customer would feel that purchasing this product, because you focused on the benefit that the customer would get from this product, not the features of the product, the benefit that the customer gets from the product, that is perceived to be of value to the customer. And if the customer feels that you've added value to their lives, they will continue to support you. Right. Next slide, the types of selling. Order takers, order creators, and order getters. Do I see a essay question hidden somewhere in this particular image? No. Do I see some short answer questions? Yes. Do I see some true and false and multiple choice and matching column questions? Yes. So what I'm saying is, in this case, you have to be able to differentiate between what an order taker is, what an order creator is, and what an order getter is. They're all in selling, but they do different things within selling. The order takers basically does just that. That's where you walk into a shop, you know what you want to buy, and the order taker is basically the person who finishes the transaction for you. When you go to the front, to the pay point, you pay, you swipe your card or pay whatever manner you choose, and they will wrap everything for you or put everything in a bag for you. That's the order taker. That's the person that finishes the transaction. But then also you have, in some cases, depending on the type of selling that happens, it could be online. It could be that you ordered through Mr. D Foods, for instance, and they have to deliver it. So those people are also the ones who are in the order taking function of selling. Missionary sales. Missionary sales is where you, as a salesperson, are dealing with not the end consumer, but you're working through a specific middleman. In the case where you, as a pharmaceutical rep, goes to the doctor, visits him at his offices, shows him the new products. You know the doctor is not going to sell it, but you know that the doctor can recommend it if he sees value in it, and therefore, when he writes his script, he's going to put your product down, although it still has to be bought at the pharmacy. Okay. Order creators, they create that business. Your order getters are the people who offer technical support. There are people who assist with complaints. There are people who help with the training and the installation of a product, and depending on what type of product we're talking about. Merchandisers are the people who work very closely with retail shops. That's the person that represents the supplier, but he's there. He often visits the retail shop, so he can see when they're taking stock. He sees, okay, right, these shelves are empty. Okay, right, they're going to probably have stock from another week. He's not going to place that order, but he's going to make sure that that manager at that particular retail outlet puts an order in. Okay, he just needs to, he's more in a supervisory capacity to ensure that, and then obviously to help if there's special promotions, and maybe if there's a new product, he would be the one that say, you know what, I see you're running out of this particular product. There's one that actually I think the customer's going to enjoy a bit. Let's, next time when you put in the order, maybe do half of what you currently have and half of the new one, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the merchandiser sort of guides also the retailer as to what is available in the market from them as a supplier. Right. Also, people, you've done this in your assignment. Differentiate between objective strategies and tactics. I think you know by now what they are. Okay, it's quite clear on the screen what the difference is. Objectives is very much aligned with your mission. What do you want to achieve? Some of you did not when you, I think it was question 3 or question 4. I think it's question 3, setting objectives for Win Worldwide in your assignment. You did not apply the SMART principle. In other words, the objective was set, but it wasn't always measurable and it wasn't always time bound. Okay, remember the SMART principle whenever you're setting objectives. Strategies. How do we intend to achieve our objectives? What are we going to do? Right? We want to increase our sales. Okay, what are we going to do to do that? Okay, I'll to answer that question for you. Looking at application, people, understand the concept, but also applying it. And your tactics, What are your daily activities that you're going to have to do to ensure that your strategies work and that you achieve your objectives? That's how those three align with each other. Right. When we do our marketing analysis, internally and externally, internally, we're looking at where our strengths and our weaknesses are. And that is usually done through a SWOT analysis. But it's also important for us to know what the size of the market is, where the opportunities lie, where the possible threats are, and that is where we are doing a competitor analysis right at the bottom. And then obviously external, all those aspects that's included in a pestle analysis, the political, the economical, the social, technological, legal, and environmental aspects and factors that we cannot influence whatsoever, but it impacts on how our business, how effective our business is. If it can impact on, let's say, for instance, profitability or increasing our profitability by 5% per year for the next 3 years was one of our objectives, we have to obviously do a proper pestle analysis, because there might be some political changes. It might be close to a new election. There might be some new technological developments that can impact on business being done more efficiently. Those are all aspects that we cannot control, but it can impact on our objective that we have set. In other words, to increase our profitability over a 3-year period, or constantly over a 3-year period. And then finally, people, that is just to capture everything. And it's again not a case study question where I'm going to say, right, explain that process to me. Okay, it is just again to recap and to see a sort of a more visual image of our overhead view, a bird's eye view of the process that I've just explained, of internal and external audits and analysis to ensure that we set our sales targets correctly. Where do salespeople fit in? Very specifically in the planning, when you're doing the analysis of market situation, right there, marketing audit, and then also when they're setting objectives and forecasts for sales, and then also again at the end of the day, when they implement the plans and the evaluation, to ensure that they can give you proper feedback as to did the strategies work, or do we need to change our tactics. People, I feel and you feel like the image on the screen, it is the end of a Monday and you can actually come out now. Okay. Anybody, any questions? Any questions, anybody? See, Kayla has joined us as well. What I will do, it is the end of the Monday of the week before the long weekend and your formal tests. What I will do is I will post an announcement once I've uploaded today's recording. I will post an announcement on Canvas just to give you a layout of the revision that we're going to be doing for Wednesday and for Thursday this week, to prepare, to help you maybe go through some of the notes beforehand and prepare specific questions that you might have. Everybody good at this stage? You've done well. You've survived another Monday, believe it or not. Are we all good? I'm assuming that none of you want to come out of hiding. I promise you it's safe. Monday's almost done. You are more than welcome to actually surface now. People enjoy the rest of the afternoon and the evening. I will continue with my grading to have your assignments completed, so I can give you proper feedback before you write your tests next Monday. Thanks very much. We'll chat again soon. As soon as Wednesday.